everyone. Sorry, I took it.
There you go. Looks like it's going live stream now on YouTube.
Great. Good evening.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining. I'm Shanika, current chapter president for BDPA Atlanta, and yeah. So for those that are maybe first-time joiners to BDPA Atlanta, we are a membership organization who are, I guess, our areas of focus are exposure. So one of our mottos is from the classroom to the boardroom. So with that, we have our STEM program, which is actually wrapping up pretty soon in time for the conference, but we actually have an in-person session coming up with the students this Saturday. If anyone would like more details on that, I can fill you all in like after the session. But our STEM program, so we're usually we're introducing students to programming concepts and web development, data science. Let's see, there's a cloud academy that we have, esports, which we're trying to introduce at the conference this year, and let's see, data science, cloud academy, web development, mobile development, and then also IT research. So our STEM program typically runs from like February to about up until the conference, and we're always looking for volunteers to help us facilitate instructions to the students. And if you have no students that would benefit from the program, they're always welcome to join us as well. And so we're kind of wrapping that up for the year, but that should be kicking off again early 2024. And there's also opportunity maybe to even to do things kind of in the off season, but we also would need volunteers to kind of help facilitate that. So the STEM program is one of our areas. As I was kind of mentioning to some of you all that joined earlier, are reaching out to local colleges. So as I mentioned, we have like a relationship with Georgia State, and we're trying to also bridge more relationships with other local campuses here in Atlanta, trying to, I guess, grow that, exposure to them, and then also hopefully open up some more opportunities by getting them involved. I think one of the things that the students at Georgia State would be able to participate in is the career fair that we'll be having at the conference. So looking forward to that. I think the other piece I would say is our professional outreach. So typically we'll have on the third Wednesday of the month a session to work with our professionals. Right this year we've been having a leadership series that we've been that Matrix has been catering for us, and I'm trying to think if there's anything that I'm missing. Sorry, I'm kind of looking at the the participants and trying not to miss anybody. But I think with that, I'll probably pass it over to John to introduce Matrix and our speaker for the evening.
Okay, sounds great. Thank you, Shanika. Well, welcome everyone. I see some names. Victor, nice to see you. Ed, I love it that you're becoming a regular. It's probably not going to come off mute, but Ed spoke a couple of months ago during a session and has, I think, joined our meeting every time since then. So awesome stuff. Kevin, it was great to run into you the other day at lunch, and so glad you decided to join in. He's staying on mute too. My goodness.
No, I'm okay, JB. JB, I'm glad.
You are not a quiet person, so I knew you were going to. Well, welcome. So, so we've been, Victor and I connected about 3 years ago now, and we've been going strong ever since. With the monthly meetings and bringing content and speakers to these sessions. So very happy to be doing that, and honored to be involved. So our theme this year has been on leadership development. our topic tonight is on developing a change mindset and becoming and growing others into becoming change agents. So really, really a great topic. I get the honor of introducing Wei Eason from NCR. I'm so happy that you are with us tonight, Wei. I first met Wei at another kind of event where she was giving back. It was a charitable event. So don't you love people that give back to the community? And here she is again giving back, which is a really special thing. So I love you for that. Thank you again for being with us. So a little bit about Wei. Wei, this is such a perfect story for the topic tonight. It's a story of change. She went to school at Cal State Long Beach, majored in electrical engineering. So somewhere along the way, she changed from electrical engineering into IT and app dev, and fast forward a couple of decades, and she's the executive director of app dev over financial systems at NCR. So, a very prestigious position, one of the, well-known logo. You can't miss the NCR building when you're driving through Atlanta, can you? So it's maybe it's not as big as the State Farm buildings, Victor, but it's right there. So anyway, so I'm going to leave it at that and turn it over to Wei. Thank you so much again for being with us, and so much looking forward to the discussion tonight.
Thank you, John, for such an introduction. So wow, it's like are you describing this person? Do I know her? First of all, I would say good evening, everyone. I'm very honored to have this opportunity to share my experience with you, and thank you for attending. Interestingly, as I'm preparing for some of the things I'm about to share, it's like those are really not new, because I'm looking at people and the attendees here that you're very seasoned leaders and professionals, and I don't think that you're going to find anything new. I don't think anything breaks through. However, what I'm about to share is really summarize some of the key areas that I have gone through my career, personal and professionally. The key takeaways, I think it's very easy to follow, very succinct. So as John described my career journey, and so that's pretty much I want to share the experience and summarize the points that you already know. Think this is a refresher. So I do have a quick PowerPoint kind of guides through some of the points here. Let me just share my screen. And let's see here. I use Teams all the time, NCR, so this is a little bit different. So once, okay, share my screen. Okay, got it. Tell me, can you see the screen? Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So we kind of talk about me. So let's just go the content here. So 3 steps. This is kind of interesting. There's so many, I'm sure there's so many great authors and leaders who wrote books and notes about changes. So one thing, it's really 3 areas. One is boosting your knowledge, because to me, it's that knowledge is power. And people afraid to change, sometimes it's the fear. Once you get that knowledge, it will alleviate the fear. So once with the knowledge, you can get stuff done. You can make one step forward, but the knowledge is the anchor. You got to, whether you need to learn new programming language or developing soft skills, I'm going to go through some of the experience I did, or how I gained the knowledge and push me forward. The second one is really about the mindset. This is kind of interesting, when changes happen to people, especially the ones not avoidable. And the first reaction to it, why me? Why me? Have this victim mentality, think, why is happening to me? And automatically your mind is resisting change, because the reason you say, why me? And you feel like a victim and you resist to change. And anything that happened to you feels that there's an overwhelming activity. So the developing a mindset, it's really pivot our thinking to say, okay, I don't like my company being acquired. I had a perfect team. I have no idea you're going to send me to, and I don't like it. At the same time, if you do on that, instead of pivot the thinking, so wow, if we think there's opportunities, if acquired by a bigger company, I have a bigger exposure. It's going to give me things that I haven't been presented before, working with different people and meeting new people. So it's really pivot the thinking, not to feel that, why me? Why's this bad thing happen to me? The initial reaction could be bad, but you really have to kind of pause to say, gotta be a silver lining. May not see that right away, but I have to work harder to find that silver lining. Once make that pivot, and the things are happening in a more positive manner. So develop that change mindset is very, to me, it's like it's very pivotal moment. It's like a light bulb goes off and say, wow, So I have a very good story to share later on as I go through some experience, how the 3 steps have helped me some of my life journeys. Last but not least is change aging. This is kind of interesting. Once you master a couple first step and second step, most likely you're going to be in a leadership position. And once you have a leadership position, you have to lead others. You're going to see half the people, it's bell curve, half the people right there with you. Then you got the other 20%, just you have to drag them along. And somewhere in the middle, 60% probably acting different. So as a change agent, just have to help people help them boost their confidence and guide them additional training and help them find the silver lining. And the interesting thing, by helping others, it's almost a refresher and it's a force multiplier. In a way, you become even better yourself, embracing change. It's helping you. By helping others, also help you. And along the way, as a leader, it's about effectiveness. If your team can follow you and in a positive manner, together you can achieve so much more. So this is kind of what I call summarize the 3 key takeaway of 3 steps. I kind of pause before I go into where I share my personal journey. Does it make sense? Do you have any questions?
I definitely have. I need to ask about, like, within a team, when you're going through like a big change, like an acquisition or, just some sort of like major change that's, a wave coming through and people are afraid or they're, feeling uncertainty, to get them to, to get them to ultimately, become a change agent. I mean, first, to be at a change mindset has got to be a challenge. So, because they're going to be all the things you said, they're going to have maybe that victim mentality. So I'd love to hear like how you get someone through that, like getting them from like a victim mentality to accepting it and maybe seeing it more in an opportunistic way.
That's a very good one. So we gone through this ERP cloud implementation, moving from Oracle on-prem to Oracle cloud. It's a massive, trying to deploy the solution in less than 2 years to 70 countries. It was a massive undertaking. A lot of people don't want to change. They just scared of change. And obviously it's a very intense program. So every day, when we are presented with a different vendor, with a lot of vendors helping us, and there's a lot of cultural clash, and you can tell the tension it's high because from a comfort zone, they know exactly the people they work with. And all of a sudden they have working with 10 different vendors. They all have a different styles. So it's a lot of stress there. So because the changes here, they not comfortable with it. So one of the things, the coaching I did, usually when they complain about other, say, project manager from Accenture, we had a big Accenture presence there. And I usually coach them, say, hey, pivot your thinking, give people benefit doubt. The reason they ask you do this, assume the good intent first instead of thinking they're doing that to you. I don't think they're doing that to you. They're asking for the structure, the status, because the PMO, this massive program, they have to get the metrics. So assume the good intent. They're not to making your life miserable, asking you, where are you on those items? They do it because they want to have a visibility for the next level leadership. So the PMO leaders can know, say, where the issues are. So assume the good intent. And they also want to see, and they also want NCR to be successful. So by getting details in your area you're not comfortable to give, and by working with an external vendor that you're not used to, and you have to think that they are helping us. They're not doing that to you. So it's one of those things, assume the good intent, and we're all in this together, have one common goal, help people pivot the thinking, not having this you against me mentality. It has to be we. You know, when some of the team members come to me, I can't believe Accenture did this. I pick Accenture because it's a one thing professional of mine. Also, we work with EY and PwC, all kinds of big four teams. I say, well, let's understand why they ask. So you can't have this me against the you mentality. It's always to say, hey, understand the reason why they do this. So there gotta be a reason to do this. They're not doing this to you. Hopefully I explained.
Yeah, I mean, to me, that's just common sense, where like they would understand you saying, hey, PwC or Accenture, they need to have success in the project. So that, you know, they need to work with us to advance this along and have it be successful. Yeah. So yeah. Thank you.
Sure. Any other questions? If I share, kind of match up the points here with some personal experience. Okay. So this is kind of interesting. So I would say 4 pivotal moments in my life life journey. Obviously, I have an accent, in case you haven't noticed that. I wasn't born here. Actually, just kind of curious. Anybody want to guess where I was born? Anyone? No taker? Okay.
China?
So, yes, you nailed it. Yeah. One of the Asian countries, right? And it's, I was born and raised in China. I finished high school in China and decided to pursue my life in the US. So I came here. I went to college here. So came here with a very minimal English. I can read and write, but couldn't really speak because it's very difficult. So went to college. So that was very difficult the first 5 years. And the speed of, you know, when you're in college and everything is in English. So obviously, in order for me to be successful, and I think I got a pretty high, I graduated with honor in school with an engineering degree. And so pretty much I had all straight A in my engineering classes. And it took a tremendous effort to learn the language. And it's a change. It's a huge change. At that time, I didn't know anything about the mindset and be a change agent. That's one thing in my mind is I got to learn English. And the one time, one vivid example, I was very good with physics in China. I took advanced physics multiple times. So I aced all the high school physics and some. So when I went to college here for engineering degree, I remember so vividly physics 1A. I know all the formulas. And the teacher said, does anybody know this answer? And it took me a couple minutes to formulate my answer in English before I raised my hand. So I could never raise my hand quickly. So I lost on that. And later on for some English class or other class, I think a psychology class, trying to argue for my point, I couldn't articulate in a way succinctly describe what I wanted to say. So I made a vow to myself. I say, I'm gonna learn English the rest of my life. All the nuances, I want to master all the nuances to the point that I can argue for my cause. Because it's so frustrating, you could not argue for your point. So I marry non-Chinese. My husband's born and raised in Georgia. It's so funny. The other day we were arguing about something, and he said, "You already passed that point. I can't compete with you. I got your point." He said, "I surrender." So, that moment came. I said, "Okay, I feel like I made that goal, long time ago in college. When I was 19. Now looking back, I think if my husband said he surrendered, so I think I probably made my point clear." So one of the things is that knowledge is power. Knowledge gives you confidence, and so that was like a very pivotal moment. Didn't speak the language, and I feel at the point I can articulate, communicate effectively. I'm sure I still have my accent. I think I will have my accent the rest of my life. I don't think I can overcome that. And so knowledge is critical. Engineering to IT. So obviously I'm in business application IT. So I was trained as an electrical engineer, did that for probably 8 years in the engineering field. And it's interesting, did a lot of automation for Coca-Cola, for a lot of plants, Alcoa. That's the first company I started with. And later on, engineering is a lot more about, not so much about programming, it's rather putting a system together. And I developed a strong interest in programming. So I decided to make a pivot from engineering system, automating manufacturing equipment, to moving things machinery, to accounting software. Accounting classes in college was the one that I ran away from. And I was like, is this a curse? Now I go into the business application, the job that opened up a rating system as a financial system. I say, oh my goodness, I know nothing about financial system. So I accept the job. I told them I have to learn from the beginning. So one thing I remember, went to a bookstore, got accounting for dummies. I'm sure you remember those series. So got the beginning accounting class book and learn, along the way. So here I am now, 25 years later. Now I'm delivering global solution for all NCR financial system to 70 countries. So you're talking about the treasury and tax and all the regulations, all the FASE, revenue management and costing, general ledger, all the accounting. So that's a huge change, because I was so good with math and physics, and in the engineering world, knew nothing about accounting. Who would know, for 25 years of my career, later on, it's doing accounting every day. So, and judging that the confidence the company has facing me to leading a group of team to deploy financial solutions for public company, financial close is extremely important. I would say I'm pretty successful at it. And I would say that knowledge the knowledge, having that knowledge, learn and push myself, that really helped. It's change. And along the way, and I have to want that and say, okay, engineers complete different. Moving to the IT world, I have to learn, I have to accept, say, this is what I want to do. So this change was not as difficult because the changes I want wasn't a change that happened to me. The third one's different. So totally happy with the rating system where I made a pivot to IT and the business applications and the accounting systems. And 11 years into NCR bought rating, just like that. And the culture was so different. And rating system is like a software company, have a startup mentality. It's very collegiate, not hierarchical at all. You can walk up to the CFO and the CEO, say, hey, I got a good idea. I think this way and that way. You can carry a peer-to-peer like conversation with anyone at rating system. Great culture. NCR, that's a huge company, being around more than 150 years, like a military, very hierarchical. I show up in one of the program meeting, and there's a lot of VPs. And at the time, I wasn't director yet, and as manager. Managers don't even speak up. And the directors, VPs are giving the orders, very hierarchical. And I said, well, that doesn't make sense. But nobody speak up. I look around and said, this is so different. It was very different. I was struggling. I say, wow, is this the company I want to stay, NCR? You know, it's just so different, the culture. It's almost like the software company. This is before NCR start making the change. It's right now, it's appeared to be a lot more software company now. But when they acquired rating system at time, probably 12 years ago, it's a little bit different. Very hierarchical. That was to say, wow, we had myself and a few other good colleagues at Radiant Sense, like we had a perfect company, perfect, we're happy, we're Alpharetta, we didn't have to travel anywhere, you know, we live in Alpharetta, the office in Alpharetta, just perfect work life. Bang, NCR bought us. We said, wow, this is not what we want. Why us? Why? We even went to all the CEO, CFO, say, you guys said never sell. You promised never sell this company. Why? They said, well, they offer too good, such a great price, we can pass it. So I obviously, you can buy any company if the price is right. But anyway, so that was very different. It's a cultural shock. But I didn't leave. The reason why is that one thing I saw kind of pivot my thinking was suffering this cultural shock is so different. At the same time, I realized, oh my God, this company so massive. Radian was only operating like 4 countries, and NCR operating at the 70 countries. On top of that, they have a different product mix. The technology is so vast, so many different systems, and population IT organizations of 1,000 people versus Radiant system about 45. So I came from a 45 organization IT to 1,000. I say, wow, there's a tremendous career opportunity, and not only from a leadership growth, also all the system I can learn. That's what I saw. Now, not everybody stayed in CR. The moment we got required, I think probably 50% people from my peers left. Less today, probably only 10-15% still remaining. Most people left and move on. And the reason I stayed, I saw there was great opportunity. Deploy learning global solutions, a global process. And that was, I would say I made the right decision. I'm very happy that the opportunities that NCR has afforded me for the last 12 years. So it's being required, I would say, the change mindset. And along the way, also I was helping others can't accept the fact that we got acquired was difficult in the beginning. And along the way, say, hey, there are other opportunities. The IT organization is huge, and you can find the different teams to fit in. And so you just, I would say I made the right choice to stay. And all started with the change mindset. Last but not least, now was the first 3 steps. And now I'm more got into the leadership position. So I was asked to lead a program. This program, probably about 260 people participated between NCR, as well as all the vendors I mentioned, Accenture and all many other vendors as well. So Oracle cloud implementation was very intense and stressful. Kind of interesting in the end. I got a lot of positive feedback from my leaders and say, hey, everybody appreciate you no matter what. You stay calm and you were able to lead the team effectively. And one thing I share with them, I said, the only reason I did this, I feel like I was the team psychiatrist, a psychologist every day. I had to talk people off the ledge almost every other day so they can stay focused and do the job. And most times, because so much change happened at the same time, you can really see the stress points. Some people, very easy, say, just give me anything, I can do it. Talk to any people, I get done. And they're very agile and willing to work with anyone. Then you got people really good at their job, but they're so rigid. They're so rigid. Okay, implementing has this way. Anything deviate, they get all stressed out. And the stress carry over, gets frustrated, can work with different vendors. So have constantly coaching. Like I say, I have this coaching session almost like every other day, because my job is to make sure, bring people together so we can deliver this program effectively on time. That includes talking to the vendors as well, coaching them, say, hey, there's a lot of conflicts, things not align up right, what's going on. So I would say, not so much my technology in play for the leaders programs is a lot of bring people together, helping people understand that there are changes, there are times difficult, but we still have to find a way to work together in a positive way. So those probably what I say the 4 key personal journeys that I can see that really has a lot of strong change component.
Way in those times where you were talking people off the ledge, if you think about that, there's so much work and investment in your team prior to that point that has to happen for them to trust you in order to, get into those, whatever, if you want to call them a therapy session with you, they've got to trust you. So you're clearly, as a leader, you're doing a lot of things before that point in the relationship with your team. So
thanks for calling that out. I think a trust is the fundamental, what I call the foundation, the cornerstone, how you lead, right? Without trust, and people not going to come forward with you. They might hide something, or they not be transparent with the true issue. So in the end, nobody wins. And yeah, I agree. I think that's almost like a table stake. If you want to become an effective leader, you got to build that trust first. And after that, and not only build the trust, I mean, especially a huge program like that, we leverage so many vendors. You had to build that rapport with your vendors as well, right? Because if your vendor's not successful, you're not successful. So there's no really you against them. It's really one team. But most people, a lot of people kind of have to say, hey, that's the vendor, that's me, you didn't do your job. And so you get into this blaming game, you know.
Yep. See it all the time. Victor, does that happen at State Farm?
Happens everywhere. And one of the questions I had for you as you're talking, Wade, was around, recharging, right? So you're going through change already, and change in itself can, pull from your energy in a particular way. And with you also engaging with others to ensure that they're embracing and executing that change in a way that's effective for the organization. How do you go about like recharging so you're set and ready for, your day-to-day when it comes to change?
That's a great question, because I just had a one-on-one with my boss today, because NCR going through the split program. I say, oh my God, I say, do you get one of those days you go home and you just can't think anymore because you've gone through like how many P1s, solving critical issues, and you solve 20 critical issues, your brain just like feel like finishing a bar exam, right? Or have a final. So great question. So I think that's highly personal. It's depending on what you do, right? So one thing I think it's mental and the physical. You have to find a way to rejuvenate. So I definitely, I try to walk 20 minutes each day. Taking MARTA is one thing, because it's 10 minutes each way. And one thing I enjoy taking MARTA is like from NCR to the MARTA station Midtown, it's 10-minute walk. So when I leave office, no matter how stressful it is, I do a fast walk. And it's amazing. When people say take 5, right? So you force yourself to walk. And by the time you get home, hopefully you can leave all that stress at work and just say, I'm done for the day. So walking, whether you walk to from MARTA or something physical, right? It's whatever you can do to stick with it. There's another thing I do. I do a diary every night. It's only 30 seconds. Somebody, a good friend of mine, 3 years ago, gave me a birthday present. Those called five years in a one book in diary. So you do a one line each day, and you do 360 days, and then next year the same book. You probably seen it. You know what I'm talking about? A line each day, a 5-year diary. It's not very big. So usually I spend at least a minute to reflect and say, hey, what went well? What didn't go well? One of the things at NCR have good leadership class. They teach you called EQ. You got to develop a high EQ to manage people. One of the things is that become self-aware and do not react. No matter how bad it is, no matter how critical the criticism is, somebody blame you or that, learn not to react. So during this difficult time in this large implementation, and looking back, because every night when I write a diary, I actually see the previous 2 years. I say, I did well today, I did not react. And a few days later, I say, I didn't do too well, I reacted. So kind of interesting is forming a good habit. If you try to tell yourself, I'm not going to react, I'm not going to take things personally, you kind of want to pivot, because my default is take things personally. I have to work on myself for my entire life. So I have to constantly remind myself not to react, not to overreact. So reflect, spend a minute or two every night to reflect, whether it's writing down or close your eyes, say, hey, what went well, what didn't go well? So tomorrow you can say, I'll do this again. So on weekends, find different hobbies. I like do things to, sewing or stitching or something different than your regular job, or read a book or watch a show that kind of just get away from that kind of work environment. So variety of things you can recharge.
That's awesome. And it's interesting that we have this topic on today because just yesterday, and I had a speaker come in and chat with my group in regards to change and change management and the approach. And one of the things that I have to constantly remind myself of is even if I'm excited about a particular change or a process update, that doesn't mean that every single person feels the same way. So we have to embrace that individuality and figure out ways to cross those bridges, as they come about. But it's a good thing if you can, as you talked about the EQ, if you can have the emotional intelligence to understand that not everybody is going to feel the same way, and you allow them to, be the narrative that you lead with.
Empathy, that's a big thing to show vulnerability, show empathy. Hey, I'm with you. I understand what you're going through. And if it comes through as genuine, and the people will open up the trust. John, you mentioned about the trust. So EQ, the big component for leader to reach out others is really through empathy. Say, hey, I understand. And like you say, it's all individual, right? Some people just say, hey, I can do this. And other people, I would say most difficult people and the people that tend to be very regimented. This is what I do. And you tell me to do something different, they're going to find so many ways to fight you. So you got sometimes, and those people are the good ones that you can rely on. They're very good at that job. They're so good at their job. The flip side is something different. They're going to tell you, no. And that's the one that take the most hard-headed people, right? And they're actually the most reliable. Any other questions?
Yes, Wei.
Yeah.
Have you noticed a generation gap when it comes to change? Let's say your younger folks are more adaptable to change and more eager to change than folks that have been, let's say, in the workforce longer.
Absolutely. Great, George. I'm glad that you brought that up. But the millennials tend to allow more, to have more to chill. Yes, because I think they brought up in the society, not only internet's available, all that, I think it's really global, right? So they've seen so many changes the last 10 or 20 years, and especially as they grown up in college, etc. I would say the baby boomers, me being one of them, the people that seasoned workers, they tend to be very regimented. Definitely. It's almost two parts, because I have a lot of young people working in our team, and then also have a very seasoned. You can tell the younger generation, they can wing it. They tend to have the more wing of the mentality versus the seasoned workers. They tend to be a little bit more set in the way. That I definitely see that.
Okay.
So I probably spend more time coaching the seasoned ones, and they're good. They really know they have the tribal knowledge. They're very critical, and you just kind of try to get them come off that. This is the way I always done it.
It's one question I have, it's a question. So, like earlier with the boosting of your knowledge, so when you're mentioning physics, you mentioned like you recognize the gap in your English skills that time of not being able to articulate clearly. But now in your current role, or just as your roles have changed in your career, how did you assess where you may have had gaps and how you wanted to boost your knowledge there?
Wow, I can't pay you enough to ask that question. That's an excellent question. So now it's not so much about whether you can speak English now, but it's completely different level. So one of the things I would say I work hard. That's probably one thing. want to make a pivot from individual contributor to leader. One thing is I used to be a very good developer, so I can write code. However, when I try to describe the program status to my manager, I go into the nth degree and he just get bored. He said, no, be succinct, be succinct. Tell me exactly what's the key takeaway. It has taken me probably 5 to 7 years to develop what I call the management speak. So you could succinctly to describe and exactly what's the key takeaway. What is the problem statement? What's the recommendation? Who owns the next action? Go. So as a matter of fact, right now, what I'm coaching my team is I have a lot of managers working for me. And I say, okay, we got a major issue. In the email thread, it's like a 30 email thread. I say, okay, what is the problem statement? Can you succinctly describe? So I say, because I can present that to the VP to say, he doesn't have time to look at 2,000 words. You had to succinctly describe what's the business impact, what is not working, what the options you're presenting, what do you recommend, and who owns the next step. So actually, it's called a structure your thought. That is the language, that is the knowledge for anyone need to pivot from individual contributor to a leadership position, and from leadership position from a line manager to an executive. You got to learn how to do the executive speak. You got to produce a PowerPoint that executive look at one slide. I got it. This is not something most people can do. It takes a lot of practice and coaching. As a matter of fact, that's all I'm been doing right now was this split program going on in CR. It's pretty massive, turning basically everything upside down. And we have to do it quickly to figure out there's all kinds of issues. And we have to figure out what are the issues? What do we need to do? Do we need the Tiger team put together and solve this problem and go? So that it's another level of boosting your knowledge. And it took me probably 5 to 7 years for me to feel comfortable to draft the email quickly. And my manager and the manager above, he can just forward to the CIO quickly.
And that situation speaks to mentorship.
Yes. Yes.
To expand on that, yes, every time you mention going from individual contributor to line manager, a mentor would be coaching that particular employee to help them make that change. And the same thing from line management to middle management to upper management.
Yeah.
And certainly BDPA has a program called the IT Senior Management Forum that fits into that structure.
You nailed it. Yeah. It takes some learning and career development, and it's knowledge. I don't think people are just born with it. You have to go through that journey and to constantly acquire what I need to do to be better at, to communicate at a different level. Absolutely. But yeah, I'm pleased to hear that you actually have that kind of what you call curriculum to help people to develop that skill set.
Yeah, and I would say, that partnership with the IT Senior Management Forum, it really goes along with that BDPA model of from the classroom to the boardroom. So although separate organizations, there's this, strong connectivity with each organization to help, transform the lives of its members through giving that additional exposure to those type of learnings. But yeah, definitely great offerings.
Let me just transition to the next slide. So just this is really quickly summarize do's and don'ts. And the one thing touched upon earlier, when you do a change, when you need to change your life, develop a routine, because routine kind of drives you to make that pivot, and be patient. And probably takes 2 to 3 months to form anything new. It doesn't happen overnight, so the routine helps. And the one thing is to celebrate small wins along the way, because change is hard. And looking back, that program for 2-year program, Oracle Cloud, and we had to constant find ways to celebrate. Hey, we're not there yet, and at least we made this milestone. Kind of celebrate the milestones along the way, and whenever this change is hard, and when people get frustrated, and the one thing I was to say, hey, what options do I have? That really speak to not to become a victim, not to succumb to the victim mentalities. Think, I'm not in control. Somebody's controlling me. I'm the victim. This is happening to me. I kind of pivot. We all have options. You may not like the number 1 option, but maybe like number 2. So what options do we have for whatever this change need to happen? And one thing is that definitely I see people, sometimes I do that too. It's like things not going well, kind of draw on the negativity, complain. I think it's good once and twice. You kind of let off a steam. We're human beings. We're not a machine. So it's when people get stressed, it's negative. It's emotion. Humans are emotion. So that happens. But just people should not dwell on it. And I do have people come to my office. They want to dwell on so much negativity about whether the person, about policy and process. I say, okay, now that I heard you, this is difficult. Can we find the options to go back to the option route? What option we can make it better? Let's take action instead of dwell on the emotions. Take action. So once we do that, it's kind of you feel like you're in control. Once you're in control, things do happen in a positive way, instead of say, oh, I'm not in control. That's not true. So that's kind of quick summarize the points and what the 3 things that I shared so far. So some of those things that I always constantly remind myself as well. So this is almost a refresher, sharing my experience, some of the key takeaway that over the years I think helped me. And it's like spending time with all of you tonight. It's like a refresher to me. I think that's all I have. Questions?
Well, first, I thought this was a really great session, and I apologize because I had to continually mute my screen because I was dealing with some little ones that needed some attention. But as you were talking through just that entire change landscape and your experience, it just reminds me, even as an organization, how we're bringing this content and we're trying to figure out ways to, morph our brand in order to attract more people to get more access to the information such as this that will definitely benefit them within their career paths. So I definitely appreciate and thank you for sharing your experience. Definitely some nuggets that we can walk away with and share with our broader community.
Thank you for saying that. I'm glad it was helpful.
Absolutely. I'd echo that as well. Yeah, great. Always so interesting to hear people's journey and, what you were facing, how you overcame it, what was going through your mind at the time. So really some great takeaways, I think, for all of us personally. And then also, how you and what you do as a leader, to drive through some of the change management and growing people through those situations as well. So awesome stuff. Thank you, Wei.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yeah, I think on Amazon, I tried searching for the 1 line a day 5-year memory book, and I found one on there. So it's pretty interesting. I'm really curious what that's like. It's probably a good reflection to be able to kind of go back easily over time and see. So it's really cool. Does anyone have any questions? Feel free to come off mute or drop them in the chat.
Three people that I know, they're like not quiet people: Jimmy and Ed and Kevin. I'm just surprised I'm not like hearing their voices.
I believe Ed is double booked, so he said.
Yeah, I did see that.
No. Hey, you know what? I'm going to say something, JV. This was an absolutely wonderful thing. You may not remember me, but I actually worked with you right when you guys had been acquired by NCR on one of the integration teams with Kitty Cheney-Reed and so many times, and Steve Reynolds and Bill Van Curren and Julie Utner. And I'm
yes,
so proud of you. And you have done some wonderful things. Thank you for sharing, I think, the message of what you've done and how you encourage everybody to follow a similar path has just been fantastic. So thank you again for sharing your time and your story.
Thank you, Kevin. Actually, somebody know about NCR.
Yeah, I would also see NCR go back to Georgia State a lot. I think they helped with their hackathons a bit. They probably were at the career fairs too. So that's probably one of the first times I remember seeing NCR. So I know they're big in the at least Georgia State community. So.
And Shanika, did you have an opportunity? I won't do it now, but I figured I'd ask this question to share more about the conference.
I might have skimmed over it, but it's always worth mentioning again since it's so close.
Yeah, so if no one else jumps in with any questions, then I'll at least give another commercial to promote the conference.
Yeah, the floor is yours, Victor.
Awesome. Well, hey, once again, great session. And what would a session be without a promo from Victor? Marketing our national conference. So our national BDPA technology conference is happening August 17th through 19th at the Westin Peachtree Plaza in Atlanta. We're going to have, just 3 days of lots of fellowship, fun, and of course, sessions. So we're looking to pull in some of Atlanta's very own to do some keynotes, as well as some very well-respected folks within their discipline to come in and not only share as keynotes and panelists, but also session speakers. In addition to that, we have something for everybody. It wouldn't be BDPA if we didn't hold true to our mantra from the classroom to the boardroom. We have many student programs. And when I say students, I'm talking both high school as well as college. So really 6th grade, I'll say, through college. And we have separate programs for each. We have competitions where students can win scholarship dollars. Both high school and college students can win high school dollars. So definitely, if you have space in your calendar and you want to participate in an amazing event, August 17th through 19th, cost is right around $425-ish, right, Shanika? I would say I'm guessing from the head. Cost is around $425, and you get to hang out with me. I'm one of your co-chairs, and we have another one of Atlanta's very own, Stephanie Gloucester, who is also another co-chair. So again, If you want more information, you can contact Shanique or I, and we can provide you with all the details. If anyone's company want to participate, we're looking for all that can contribute to the experience. So definitely give me a holler, and we'll see what we can do. And I don't know, Shanika, did you drop the conference link in there?
Yep. Drop
Okay.
the conference link, the location, and the dates, along with some of our links to social media.
Victor, I don't know if you get the sign up information from this meeting, but if you would reach out to me separately, I'd be interested in trying to see how I can help support. BDP is a legacy group for me from the time I graduated college in 1989, and I was a member of the BDPA in Washington, D.C., and then out in the Los Angeles chapter, involved with a lot of the what we call STEM now, the youth high school training program, as well as some other things. So I'm glad to see you guys going strong here in Atlanta, and love to see about how to get engaged with the upcoming conference.
Awesome. We will definitely reach out.
Okay.
You're a good man, Kevin. I told
Victor,
you, I told you Victor was going to come at you strong. And you just like shut that off. You like, you know, sometimes a good defense is the offense, right? Well done.
I'm over here on the registration site now, like looking up Kevin Smith.
Yep, we definitely got your email, Kevin.
Yeah, Victor, just so you know, JV and I used to work together my first 5 years here in Atlanta, and we did a lot of great, successful things together. And we were so glad to bump into one another last week. And I committed to being here, and I was really glad because I've been kind of monitoring you guys from afar, and I was really, really proud of him. I shared with him in Matrix sponsorship of the BDPA, and I've been very, very proud of always of being an alumni of that organization, and it's been fantastic.
It's awesome.
Yeah, we appreciate it. Yeah, we definitely appreciate everything Matrix has been doing with BDPA these last couple of years. And yeah, well, so if there are no other questions, we'll wrap up here. Thank you, Wei, again for sharing your insight, and we hope to see you again soon.
Thank you.
Thank you, Wade.
Thank you.
Thank you. It
Bye.
was great.
See you guys. Have a good night.